Hi guys, so this is Monika Garg and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So many people were texting me on LinkedIn that can you share with us your IOCL experience and your what were the interview questions they asked you, what was the selection criteria, shortlisting criteria for the resumes. So yeah, I am going to share my experience with you guys in this video. So be with me, and if you find this video insightful, then do like it and share it with your friends. So first, let's go with the shortlisting criteria. What I got to know is that, and what I feel they do is they select based on your, first of all, marks. Very important. Maybe 60% criteria or 50%. There could be criteria of marks also. Of course, rank. Second criteria they can use is rank. Third, they can use the criteria for shortlisting is number of attempts for the exams. And the fourth criteria may be your strong experience. What I figured out is that in IOCL they were preferring profiles with experience. So yes, these can be some of the shortlisting criteria for your resumes as an industrial trainee. Yes. So yes, first question that every interviewer will ask you is, tell me about yourself or tell us about yourself, your family background. So I was asked this question. So there were two people in the panel. One was from the HR, and I got to know after my selection that another one was senior manager who got promoted just after I got selected to DGM. So and was transferred also. So one was the senior manager, we can say, and another was from the HR. So HR was asking me this type of questions and the HR questions, and the senior manager were asking me technical questions. So the first question I was asked was, tell me about yourself. So here you can explain. Obviously you will tell you will introduce yourself, your name and your educational background, and then any certifications if you have, and any knowledge of tools you have like SAP, Oracle, or any Tele you have worked on. So yes, you can add on them. And Excel you can add. If you are good at Excel, you should mention only those things that you are good at. Don't mention while telling them about yourself anything that you are not good at, or you just know basic. Don't mention that, because they will immediately catch it and they'll ask questions from that. So yes, only mention those things while introducing yourself or while giving any answers that you're very good at. So, so yeah, this was the first question I was asked, and after that they asked me. I'm not going in any particular sequence. I'm just telling randomly because it's been so much of time. So yeah, the next question they asked me, why do you want to switch from BHEL to IOCL? Because I was already working at BHEL, so that's why they asked me this question, the reason for switching. So I told them that the distance was a major reason, because BHEL was in Noida, I was working in, and IOCL was in Green Park, and I live near Green Park. Okay, so yes, I told them ki, of course, BHEL is very far from my home, and IOCL is just 4 stations away. My mistake. I just told them that IOCL is just 4 stations away from my home. So they asked me, the HR immediately catched it and asked me, can you name the 4 stations? And I was blank. Not blank actually. I was so happy that he asked me this question, because मुझे पता नहीं उस दिन क्या चल थी. While coming to the IOCL office, I was checking, कह रहे यार देखो तो कितने स्टेशन दूर है, क्या क्या स्टेशन आते हैं, अच्छा बस 4 ही स्टेशन है. And I just read the name of all the stations, and when he asked me, I immediately answered that, sir, this and this. I was like, very good, Monika, very good. So I was very happy when he asked me this question. I immediately answered it. I was in confidence, right? For the next question, I was. So after I mentioned this the switching thing, then they asked me question. If you are experienced, let me tell you this. If you are a fresher, they'll mostly ask you technical questions, okay? But if you are already experienced person, then they'll ask you from that experience. Okay, so I was an experienced person now, so they asked me about BHL, my role at BHL. So I mentioned whatever work I've done there. So now they started digging out. So they asked me what was the process of acceptance of bank guarantees in BHL. So I was explaining. I said, so they have their own software, so it will not work here. So still, he asked me, still, just tell me the process. So I just told them the process, and then they asked me from my resume. I had mentioned that I did two-way match of invoice in BHEL. So they asked me, what is a two-way match? So yes, that was also from my role. Then they asked me, in bank guarantee there is a document that we need to attach, that is SWIFT document. So they asked me, what is SWIFT? So yeah, not the definition, not the just full form. They wanted to know what actually is SWIFT. It's an institution or whatever. So yes, they asked me what is SWIFT, and then the HR started asking questions in between. So he asked me what was BHEL's previous year turnover. Gladly, previous year turnover, I already knew that, because while I was giving interview at BHEL, they asked me the same question. So I was already familiar with that turnover, but I think I was so nervous that instead of saying 23,000 crore, I think I said 23 crores. So he asked me, are you sure, Monika? Monika, yes, sir. This is what I remember now. And I realized it while I was going for BHEL on my way to BHEL in metro. The intrusive thoughts that come to your mind. अरे मैंने ये क्यों नहीं बोला, अरे मैंने इधर बोल दिया, तब मुझे realize हुआ कि मैंने 23 crores बोला है. That's what I remember. But I think 23 was, as I was giving myself marks, कह रही यार 23 तो बोला है, तो उस बंदे को इतना तो थोड़ा लगा ही होगा कि 23 बोला है तो इसको कुछ आता है, कुछ तो पढ़ के आई, बस nervousness में निकल गया होगा. So yeah, this was the question he asked me. And then HR asked me this question related to accounting. Okay, so he asked me, can you tell me the accounting treatment of rent payables which is to be amortized in 3 years? Like how will you treat this item in balance sheet or in financial statement? So I told him this is a liability. Then he asked me what liability, matlab which liability, non-current, as a non-current liability. Where will you present? Of course, in liability side, na. Yeah, that's what my inner self was saying. Okay, so yeah, he asked me how will you treat this item. So yeah, basic accounting he asked me, and then the senior manager asked me, do you have knowledge about Excel? And again, I'm so full. मतलब मुझे समझ नहीं, मुझे क्या जरूरत है इतना सा बोलने में, सीधा सीधा बोल नहीं सकती कि हाँ सर मुझे आता है एक्सेल। मैंने बोला हाँ सर मुझे एक्सेल आता है, आई नो वी लुक अप पिवट एंड एवरीथिंग। पिवट नहीं आता था मुझे भाई, पिवट नहीं आता था, बस लगाना आता था, इतना सब नहीं आता था मुझे। सो ही गेव मी केस स्टडी ऑन पिवट कि फॉर एग्जांपल 4 कॉलम्स आर देयर, उसके बीच में 2 इंसर्ट कर दोगे आप, तो अब पिवट कैसे चेंज होगा, ऐसा कुछ समथिंग लाइक दैट, कि डेटा कैसे चेंज होगा, समथिंग लाइक दैट। या सो कुछ तो आंसर करा था मैंने, एंड उसने भी मतलब सॉरी उन्होंने भी फिर सामने से कुछ क्रॉस कमेंट्स दिए थे। मैंने कहा हाँ हाँ ऐसे ही होगा, ऐसे ही होगा। मुझे नहीं पता उन्होंने भी सही बोला था नहीं बोला था, आई जस्ट अग्री with him. But I think that's what you should not do. You should not blindly agree with the person in front of you. Okay. If you can stick to your point. You may be wrong, but you should stick to your point. You should not blindly agree with the person in front of you. So yeah, this is, I'm also telling you the mistakes you can avoid next time. Don't overshare. Okay. You I could have just said, yes sir, I know basic Excel. I have knowledge. That was just my chill. That said we look up pivot. So yeah, then I think then they asked me the graduation status. Yes, they asked me the graduation status. So yes, I said I've already completed my BCom. I think yes, I said I have already completed my BCom, so there is no such liability on me to go to the college or anything else. Um, this so yeah, these were the questions that I remember that they have asked me. बाकी मुझे I think इतने ही questions थे. The interview went around I think 10 to 15 minutes. So yeah, so these were the all questions. Now come to my experience. So yeah, my experience and exposure to ICL was good, but I would say कि कोई भी वर्क प्लेस हो वहाँ पे आपके फ्रेंड सर्कल होना बहुत जरूरी है। आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि पूरे पक्के वाले फ्रेंड्स बनाओ कि अरे उम्र भर तक साथ चलेंगे, बट एटलीस्ट जब तक आपकी ट्रेनिंग चल रही है, आई थिंक यू शुड हैव सम पीपल टू sit around to talk with, because otherwise we'll feel alone all around and we'll get bored. PSU का थोड़ा environment ऐसा होता है that you might get bored there because you are given, sometimes you're given repeated work. So yes, I will suggest try making out friends, just maybe just for the training period. So yeah, otherwise yes, my experience was good. We used to hang out in the lunch and used to do work whenever. And some people ask me that do you get time to study while doing training in the PSU? Yes, in a PSU you will definitely get time to study. They also say if you don't have work now you can study. So yes, you get enough time to study there. But ऑफिस में पढ़ने का मन ही नहीं करेगा, खुद ही मन नहीं करेगा ऑफिस में पढ़ने का। बट यस, अगर आप इतने डिटर्मिनेंट हो तो आप कहीं भी पढ़ सकते हो, ठीक है। यस, इसके अलावा वर्क एक्सपोजर आई वुड से इट वाज फैंटास्टिक। एक्सेल मुझे बीएचएल में, यस आई डिड दैट, बट मेरा एक्सेल में इतना काम नहीं था बीएचएल में, बट आईओसीएल में आई लर्न अ लॉट ऑफ एक्सेल ट्रिक्स, shortcuts. So I can now say I know pivot, I know VLOOKUP, I know XLOOKUP. Now I can say that. And SAP, of course, in IOCL they have SAP as an ERP. So yes, I learned SAP. That's a very big advantage to my resume and for future. So yeah, SAP exposure is there, Excel exposure is there. Your communication skills will get improved. Okay. Overall, I'll give IOCL rating 6 out of 10, or I'll say 3 out of 5. Also, I'll suggest you guys whenever you give an interview, just write down the questions after coming to home or after or wherever you go. Just write down the questions that they ask you for future references. See, I've also written down the questions that they asked me in IOCL and BHL. So I wrote both the questions because this will help me, to give further interviews. You can prepare it for there. So whenever you give an interview, just make sure you write out all the questions they asked you. So if you want to know anything else from me, then do let me know in the comment box or on my LinkedIn. You can DM me on LinkedIn. I'll share another video for that. So yeah, bye guys. See you in next video.